Tonight, the Manson family member asking for parole more than 50 years after the murders. Inside the controversial parole bid where the convicted killer was seeking her freedom. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
I'm a convict. I'm an outlaw. I'm a rebel. I'm not a Sunday school teacher.
An unhinged cult leader, Charles Manson, and his giggling disciples, killers who turned a beautiful summer night in Los Angeles into a bloodbath.
Movie star Sharon Tate and 4 other persons were murdered in her home in Bel Air.
Horrific, inhuman, savage.
56 years later, the faces of evil are now facing freedom.
I began to stab her. I remember her saying, "I'm already dead."
Amazingly, in 2025, the Manson story is still making headlines.
Charles Manson
joined the Manson cult when she was just 19.
Manson murder, Patricia Krenwinkel, has been recommended for parole.
Patricia Krenwinkel is the longest-serving female in California prison.
Back in 1994, Diane Sawyer interviewed Charles Manson in prison.
I never told anybody to do anything other than what they wanted to do.
And if they wanted to do murder, that was okay with you?
That was none of my business, woman.
She also talked to killers, Krenwinkel and Leslie Van Houten.
I stabbed Mrs. LaBianca in the lower back about 16 times.
Every day I wake up and know that I'm a destroyer of the most precious thing, which is life.
Patricia Krenwinkel eventually admitted to carving war into Lino LaBianca's abdomen, putting a carving fork in his throat and leaving it there. Pretty horrible stuff.
She's cold, she's calculated, she's very easily influenced.
Krenwinkel's bid for freedom may not be so far-fetched.
Leslie Van Houten has now been released from prison.
In 2023, major controversy erupted when Van Houten was granted parole. So the question, should Krenwinkel also get out?
If we're going to let her out, we have to effectively trust her that she has learned these lessons and won't commit these crimes again.
Krenwinkel is just one of dozens of young women and men who became part of the infamous Manson family.
They lived together, they ate together, they had sex together. This was the very definition of a cult.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst cult leader, Charlie Manson was an 11. Everything pivoted on his persona, his personality.
The group became notorious after the 2-night killing spree that left 7 people dead, including pregnant actress Sharon Tate.
She was the kindest, sweetest, most humble, most giving human being that I have ever met. And that's putting aside her physical beauty.
Sharon Tate was, by all accounts, one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood.
Tate was an up-and-coming talent, best known for Valley of the Dolls.
Mother, I know I don't have any talent, and I know all I have is a body, and I am doing my best exercises.
On August 9th, Tate's husband, director Roman Polanski, is out of town, and Tate is at home with 3 friends. Manson sent a group of followers to Tate's home and told them to kill everyone inside.
I told him to go do what Tex said. I never told anybody to do anything other than what they wanted to do.
Oh, Charlie's just absolutely lying. There wasn't one thing done that was even allowed to be done without his expressed permission.
Jay Sebring was very protective of Sharon and said, no, you know, she's 8.5 months pregnant. She can't sit on the floor. And Watson then stabbed him, shot him, killing him. And then pandemonium broke loose.
When there was an attempt to tie everyone up, eventually Abigail Folger started to get herself undone, and she took off.
Krenwinkel caught Folger on the lawn.
I ran her down, and I began to stab her. I remember her saying, "I'm already dead." When I looked around, I knew this is wrong, but you're a part of this horrendous dance. And it was like, no matter what or anywhere I turned, it wasn't going to stop.
Meanwhile, inside, Manson follower Susan Atkins is facing off with Sharon Tate.
When Sharon was being stabbed to death, Susan said that she begged for the life of her baby. She said, just, I don't care what you do to me, please spare my baby. And then in her dying breath, she called out to her mother.
It's so breathtakingly despicable.
When I got back to the ranch, we got out of the car, Charlie came up and asked everybody how it went. I looked at him and I said, Charlie, they were so young.
On the next night, the Manson family struck again at the home of Rosemary and Lino LaBianca.
I knew that people would die. I knew that there would be killing.
It had been said by Charlie to make sure that there was all these witchy signs. And I went, and Mr. LaBianca was already dead. And I had gotten a fork, and I stabbed him with a fork repeatedly and eventually left the fork in him. And then I wrote words all over the house.
Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter. And
Rise.
And I think there was something else.
Pigs,
probably.
The killers were all arrested and charged a few months later and put on trial for capital murder.
Charlie, could you look this way, please? How do you feel, Miss Krenwinkel?
The women would wear these little, like, girly dresses with ruffles and stuff and little pigtails, and they'd hold hands and skip in and out of the courtroom singing nursery rhymes or singing songs that Manson had composed.
The entire proceedings were scripted by Charlie. Every day we'd meet and he'd decide, well, today I want you each to stand up and hold your hands in some stupid symbols. You're gonna get up and scream, the old gray mare. You're gonna get up and burn an X in your head. You're gonna go bald. And that day we proceeded through the events as he said it.
The jury found all 5 killers, including Manson, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten, guilty.
They were given the death sentence, but the Supreme Court of California overturned death penalties in the state.
So all of their sentences are immediately converted to life with the chance for parole.
Controversially, in 2023, Leslie Van Houten became the first killer from that crime spree to be granted parole at the age of 73.
She earned it. She needed to be released and needed to send a message that people can be rehabilitated successfully.
With Van Houten released, Krenwinkel, now 77 years old, hopes freedom could be in her future too. Keith Watley is her attorney.
This wasn't just murder, it was mutilation. It was something that most people consider beyond the pale. Does she have insight about what she did?
She talks about why she was so receptive to what Manson was offering, which was like an answer for her to like who she is in the world, who she's supposed to be, what she's supposed to do. He showed up pretending to have all the answers when she had none in her life.
I do think that people look at a Krenwinkel and think, oh, look at Nona, look at, this is a grandma. How could she possibly be a threat to the community? Well, she still has her voice. I don't think you can just look at the age of a person and think that they are not a threat to society.
Over the summer, the parole board did recommend Krenwinkel for release, but just this week, Governor Gavin Newsom reversed the parole board, meaning Krenwinkel will stay in prison, at least for now.
The governor, in reversing the grant of parole, focused on insight. He recognized that, yes, she was very young when she committed the crime, and she's very old now. But he said those factors are outweighed by her lack of insight, her inability to understand what she did wrong, her casting of blame on others. That lack of insight means she poses an unreasonable risk of safety to society, and we agree.
Krenwinkel's attorney Keith Watley said in a statement, the governor has unfortunately chosen politics over people.
Sit your ass in jail. Take what you were sentenced to. Be happy. Your second chance was the chance to live. That's more than any of your victims had. So take the second chance you were given and do the most with it.
Our thanks to Matt. To learn whether or not Patricia Krenwinkel got parole, watch Impact by Nightline, Evil, Manson Killers Freed, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.